Welcome back to part 12 in this HTML tutorial series for beginners. Today I'll be talking about tables in HTML. So right now on w3schools.com I have the HTML tables open, and this is an example of a table in HTML. And we're gonna learn how to build a table like this. So in the last video I gave you guys a challenge to create your own website. And this is what the challenge was. You had to create a website similar to this. So today I'll be adding another page to this website, and that page will contain our tables. So first of all, I'll open up my text editor. So from our last challenge, I have opened up the index.html document, and I'll be adding another link in our navigation bar. So let's say we want to create a page called our staff. So our staff.html, or let's call it our team. And now create a new file and save this file as our team.html. And now I'll copy everything from index.html up until here. And now I'll be closing off the body and the HTML tags. So now let's create a header and call this, and I'll say meet our team. And now we're going to create our table. Okay. So before we do that, let's take a look at what our index.html page looks like. If I refresh, now we have a link to our team.html page. Click on it, and it takes us here. So now we're going to create a table. In order to create a table, we use a table tag. Every table has rows, so in order to create a table row, we type tr. tr stands for table row. And then the first row of our table should contain the table headers, which are represented using th. And let's say the first thing will be our staff name. So in our table, we got our table headers. The first column will contain our staff name. The second column will contain the city. And the third column will contain their role in our company. Now let's create another table row, and from now on we're going to insert table data in our columns. Table data is represented using the TD tag, and the first column will contain the staff name. Let's call him Michael John, and then the second column will contain his city. Let's say Seattle. And the third column will contain his role. We'll give him a manager position. And I'm going to copy this and paste it 2 more times. And our second employee is Michelle Jackson. And she's from Denver. Let's say she's a web developer. So the fourth row will contain another employee. So the first column will contain his name, Andrew Johnson, and let's say he's from Detroit, and let's say his position is a photographer, since it's an image site. All right, so save this document, go back to our page and reload, and now you can see our table in our document. But as you guys can see, the table is not in the center, so we're going to fix that. So to fix that, we go to our internal CSS, and we're going to create a table, and we're going to change its margin property to auto. So now we have our table in the center, but it does not really look that great. So we're going to give it some border. So now let's add a border So we're going to type border and change the and give it a size of 2 pixels, and the border style will be solid, and the color we want is black. So in our border property, first we specify the size, and then we want a solid border, and lastly we want the color to be black. Save this document, and this is what it looks like. And after the table, we're going to insert table headers and also table data. So they're all going to have a border of 2 pixels, which is going to be a solid border, and the color is going to be black. Save this, and now we have a pretty nice looking table. Let's make it 1 pixel. So now we have a very nice table in our web page. So now it does not really look like a regular table. There are multiple border lines. So let's fix that as well. To do that, we are also going to change a CSS property. And that property is border collapse. And then we're going to give it a property of collapse. Save this document. Reload our page. And now our table looks much cleaner. So what this is saying is turn all the borders into 1 border. So the content looks really tight inside our table, so let's fix that. We're going to add some padding to our table headers and our table data. So now we're going to change the CSS property of our table headers and table data only. We're going to skip the table, and over here we're going to add some padding. So padding, and let's say I want 5 pixels. Reload, and now our table is much more spaced out. It looks way better. So notice that all the text in our table is in the center. We can change it if we want. We can align them to the left or to the right. And to do that, we use the property that you all are familiar with, which is text align. And let's say we want all the text to be aligned to the right. Reload, and now all the text is aligned to the right. But I'm not going to do that. So it's also possible to insert a cell that will span multiple columns. And I'll show you what I mean. So in our table headers, we're going to add a cell called phone number. And we want this table header to span 3 columns. Okay, so call span. We're going to change the call span attribute, which means column span. We're going to say it will take up 3 columns. Now let's see what it looks like. So it just simply looks like 1 column, but I'll show you how you can actually add 3 different columns under it. So in our table data, we're going to create 3 more table data. The first column will contain the area code. So let's say 244, and then the phone number. And I'll do the same thing for the other 2. Just make up some random numbers. Save this document. Reload our page. And now you can see under our phone number we have 3 different columns. So this phone number header is spanning 3 different columns. So there you have it. Now we know how to use tables and HTML. If you want to learn more about tables, check out the w3schools.com page about tables. So in this page, they talk about how to span cells into many columns, which we looked into. It also shows you how to create cells that span many rows. So if you look at the example here, so this cell that says telephone is taking up 2 rows. And it also talks about captions and special styling, which we will look into styling once we get into CSS. But if you want to read more about tables, you can find the link to HTML tables page on w3schools.com in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.